So I'm going to read again, 2 Samuel chapter 3, 6 to 16. During the war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner had been strengthening his own position in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine named Rizpah, daughter of Aiah. And IshBoseth said to Abner, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?" Abner was very angry because of what IshBoseth said, and he answered, "Am I a dog's head on Judah's side? This very day I am loyal to the house of your father Saul and to his family and friends. I haven't handed you over to David, yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman? May God deal with Abner be it ever so severely if I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath and transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba." IshBoseth did not dare to say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him. Then Abner sent messengers on behalf to say to David, "Whose land is it? Make an agreement with me, and I will help you bring all Israel over to you." "Good," said David. "I'll make an agreement with you, but I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, when you come to see me." Then David sent messengers to IshBoseth, son of Saul, demanding, "Give me my wife Michal, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of the 100 Philistines' foreskins." So IshBoseth gave orders and had her taken away from her husband Paltiel, son of Laish. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her all the way to Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So he went back. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Okay, so today we continue the book of Samuel. As you know, 1 Samuel is over now, about the 14, 15 sermons we went through. Now we're going to go to 2 Samuel, okay? Before we go for today's sermon, I want to revisit our last week's sermon. We talk about Antichrist, heresies, and the modern heresies we talked about last Sunday. And it's good that Thursday again, during the basketball, a lot of our church young people shared the last Sunday message. And I thought they missed the point. So I'm going to remind you one thing from last Sunday. When I introduced the heresies, a lot of times people connect the heresies to cult. Cult is like a fake religion. There's a sexual immorality or there's some weird things going on. It's not beneficial to people. That's usually the weird, awkward thing, bad thing is a cult, right? When I introduced the heresies last week, I didn't talk about cult. It is actually okay, good people. We just say heresies, but they're not wrong people. I don't know, have you ever watched the TV commercial, "I'm a Mormon"? I'm a husband, I'm an engineer, I'm a Mormon. I'm the mother, I'm the nurse, and I'm a Mormon. They're like a lot of the Mormon commercial. The reason Mormon made that many commercial because the Mormon is a heresies, but Christian actually made a mistake. They thought they were like demon kinds of people, immoral, wrong people. So the Mormon, I'm a Mormon commercial is, I'm a Mormon, I'm like you. I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm an engineer, I'm just a worker, teacher. Don't think I'm a wrong person. That's what Mormons try to excuse themselves. And it is true. They're not wrong people. The heresies I introduced last week, like, the Arian, Pelagius, and, even the Marcion, they were morally anything wrong. They just try to believe Jesus a certain way and saying that, there's a good positive thought. We can save ourselves. Let's do our best. Let's work for the poor people. Let's do the right thing. So they're not the wrong people. Only thing we brought up by heresy is they don't think Jesus is the Savior. That's the only thing. That's what we call Christology. Jesus is Christ, but they didn't say Jesus is Christ. But still, they talk about love. They talk about justice. They stand with the poor people, oppressed people. They're the good people. So that's the reason Christians confused. What's wrong with them? Morally, ethically, they are good. Why should we say they're not one of us? Though they are good, those who say that Jesus is not the only Savior, then we say they're not Christian. And again, what we believe is not just love. Buddha said love, Muhammad said love, Mahatma Gandhi, the Martin Luther King social activists, they all talk about love and justice. But by their love and justice, we do not define them as a Christian. Definition of a Christian is not just love. I shared with you, right? God's love through Jesus Christ. That's only God incarnated in this world through Jesus, and His love is the love that we want to talk about. That's the only just a Savior. And if anybody, though they good people don't talk about love, if they don't agree with that, then we say, okay, then go ahead. You're the good people, but you're not Christian. Don't say you're Christian. That's a heresy. That's what I try to share, right? And there's a reason the culture really don't like a Christian way, because they say diversity, embrace others, accept others, embrace difference. Why Christian keep saying Jesus is the only way? If you keep saying that, there's no possibility of reconciliation with the other religion, with the other people. That's a cultural voice, but we are dealing with it. Okay? So remember that, because I'm going to kind of revisit that theme today through a very different way. Look at today's sermon title. Isn't it weird? I made a sermon title like Abner, IshBoseth, Rizpah, and David, Paltiel, and Michal. That's like an all weird name. I don't know how many names that you would recognize among them. How many names do you know here? Anybody? I think all of you know David, right? Is any name did you already know? Any story about those people? Can you identify these names? How many people's name can you identify here? I would definitely believe David, maybe Michal. By the way, is it Michal or Michal? What's the English pronunciation? Either way, I checked up the Google pronunciation. They said it can be Michal or Michal. Anyway, Michal, the David's wife. But other name that not that important, usually you do not know. You maybe never heard about them. But again, in today's story, just 10 verses. They're all 6 people. You can hear the story about them, and that's what we want to talk about today. Okay? So, story start like this. Again, King Saul, he died at the end of 1 Samuel. Now the big war is over. The major character throughout the book of Samuel, Saul dead. That dynamic is broken now. Samuel already dead. Saul is dead. To new story with David. And there are a lot of the family stories, the small minor stories here. That's one of them. We see that. So today start like this. Chapter in the beginning of 2 Samuel chapter 3. During the war between the house of Saul and house of David, Abner had been strengthening his own position in the house of Saul. So what happened was, King Saul died, but his family, his kingdom was not collapsed, because still there was number 2, the Abner. Abner was, King Saul's right arm. He was a general. And when King Saul died, that the IshBoseth, still the King Saul's son, one of the son, maybe the youngest son, because all the great older sons like Jonathan, other people all died with King Saul. But IshBoseth became a king, but because he was very weak. But King Saul's general Abner, number 2, now protected the IshBoseth and King Saul's family. So King Saul's family still was established, was strong against David. So there was still war going on. And as you can imagine, Abner was not king, but he was the most powerful person in King Saul's family. But now, IshBoseth had a little problem. So verse 7, the Saul had a concubine named Rizpah, daughter of Aiah. And IshBoseth said to Abner, why did you sleep with my father's concubine? So there's a name, Rizpah. Maybe you never heard about name, but she was Saul's concubine. But Abner, as number 1 most powerful person in King Saul's kingdom, he actually had a relationship with Mizpah, and IshBoseth was bothered. Look at the Abner's the response. To me, it's like a comedy. Like Abner was very angry because of what IshBoseth said, and he answered, "Am I a dog's head?" It's like the worst curse you can think about. Am I, whatever the bad word you can think about, but the worst word, the worst curse, swear that he bring up. Am I a dog's head on the Judas side? This very day, I'm loyal to the house of your father Saul and to his family and friends. I have not handed you over to David, yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman. So Abner's position, if you think about it, you have done something great with a big sacrifice, but people don't recognize any credit for what you have done, and just pick up the small mistake you have done it. Let's say maybe like Kenny and Andy served our tech team for years, with a great sacrifice, and one day they're late. Everybody said, "Hey, why you guys late?" Would they really be happy? I'm done. For 3 years I served this position sincerely. This one small mistake, you're gonna bring it up? Okay, I'm done. I'm over. I walk out. I mean, praise team, Sunday school teacher, even the lunch preparation, anything. You have made a great effort to sacrificing yourself to do something good, protecting others, but just a small thing, they picked it up, right? So Abner was very angry that I've been loyal to you, father, dad, and your country is supposed to be collapsed, but I protect you and your family fighting against this great King David. You know how hard it was, and you just broke this small thing that I slept with your king's, the concubine. And by the way, there are many rules about the man and woman relationship in the Bible in the Old Testament. There's no rule about widow. If the Rizpah, who was a concubine of Saul, or husband dead, there's no rule she should not have a relationship with the other man. Actually, they're free. So it was not illegal. When Abner had a relationship with the Rizpah, there's no law through which that he could be accused. And here's a justification. I served this much and about this small matter of the woman, why you bring it up? So, Abner said, I'm done. I will just stop protecting your country, your kingdom, your father's house. I will give this country to David. So that's what happened here. Okay? Have you ever been like Abner? You served sincerely so much with a lot of energy, but people accuse you of very small thing without giving you the big things you ever done, giving any credit for that, right? But if you think about IshBoseth's side, he's a son, his father was a king, and father's concubine means he's a mother, like a stepmother. Maybe IshBoseth felt Rizpah as like his mother. Maybe Rizpah raised IshBoseth. Who knows? Their relationship might be very close. So IshBoseth thought, this is shame. This is like my father king's, the concubine. Even if my father dead, this general should not, commit this adultery. So that IshBoseth brought up. But Abner again, he was very angry. So Abner said, I will, bring the kingdom back to David. And story says, IshBoseth did not dare to say any word to Abner because he was afraid of him. So two reasons that there was that much reason or justification that IshBoseth could claim against Abner. And at the same time, he didn't have any power. So when the strong man Abner was angry, just he was afraid and he didn't say anything. Have you ever been like IshBoseth? There's some grudge, bitterness in your heart. You try to bring it up. You really you feel like you're oppressed, you're mistreated. But culturally, not many reasons, not many ways to justify your position. But still it's bitter. You are angry. And also you're not powerful, so you cannot defend your position, so you are forced to be silent. There's nothing you could do. Have you ever been IshBoseth? Maybe both of your life is complicated, right? Sometimes your life, I think you're more like Abner, and other time your life you're more like IshBoseth, right? So story go on. So because Abner was angry, I'm gonna give this country back to David. So David, very happy, no more war, no more bloodshedding. So he just could receive the Saul's kingdom. So David said, good, I make agreement with you, but now David have one condition: bring my wife back. You know the Michal, right? The Saul's second daughter. And when King Saul gave Michal to David, what was King Saul's plan? Actually, King Saul was not happy to give his daughter to David. King Saul tried to kill David. So he demanded, hey, if you want to get married with my daughter, you're going to bring the 100 dead body of the Philistine. So King Saul planned David go out to fight against the Philistine and be killed by Philistine. That was King Saul's plan. But David actually killed 200 Philistines and brought the evidence of their death. So now David is claiming, this is my wife, bring me back. What happened was when David ran away from Saul, actually Michal, the one who loved David, she saved David's life. When King Saul sent an assassin, and then when David was on the bed, she let David go away, escape from the window, and she put on the pillow, on the blanket, so they didn't know it was not David. And then she was saved, and because of that, King Saul was very angry at his daughter. How could you save my enemy? And the Michal protected David at that time. And because of that, she betrayed her father, and she protected her husband, but her husband ran away. What happened to her? King Saul just threw her away to another man. Hey, be a wife of another man. So she became a wife of another man. Now, that's the reason David said, bring my wife back. If you want to make a peace agreement with me, then I need my wife. It's not just my wife, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of 100 Philistine foreskin. She was not just given. I took a risk of my life to have her. She's mine. I have a rightful claim. Bring her back to me. Right? That's what David said. So this is really interesting. So IshBoseth gave orders and had her, Michal, take away from her husband. Unfortunately, now she has a second husband, whether she wanted or not. That's how her life was unfolded. And her life's name is Paltiel. Have you ever heard this guy's name in the Bible? Paltiel, son of Laish. This is the only man in the Bible who cried for a woman. This is actually only romantic guy in the whole story of the Bible. There's no romance in the Bible. The man and woman just they loved. I mean, the Jacob loved his wife Rachel, but he's not like really crying for her. But look at this. Her husband Paltiel went to with her, weeping behind her all the way to Baurim. Then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So he went back. I mean, Paltiel, the romantic guy, the one who truly loved his wife, now that her former husband, rightful legal husband, claimed her, and even there is a king, right? There's not many things he could say. He could not say, he's my wife, he cannot claim. And by the way, he didn't have a power. So Paltiel's case, again, sadness and brokenness and, this tragedy, family tragedy. I feel like it's a very Korean drama. So like he was crying the way, but powerful men say, "Silence, go back." So nothing's happened. So he had to go back. So that's today's story. 6 people, okay? 6 people's story that we're going to talk about today. Again, the powerful people, Abner, David, not just powerful, they were kinds of righteous. Their behavior was accepted, was okay in their society. So when they did something, rightfully they claimed, "Bring my wife back. I took my risk for her. I am loyal to your father's family. Whole this life, you just blame me without giving any credit to me. I'm done." Like they're kinds of like a strong voice. Again, have you ever made that voice? I'm right. People say I'm right. I'm right to be angry. I'm right to give it up. I'm right. I mean, my action is justified. Have you been like that? Right? And at the same time, there are other kinds of people, IshBoseth and Paltiel. They cannot defend their position. They cannot. There's no way they could do it, but that bitterness and that grudge was in them. And again, have you ever been in this position before? And you know what? I'm really wondering, would David have known that Michal was happy in her new marriage life? If David like, "Hey, bring my wife back. By the way, where is she? With whom is she living? Is she happy?" Did David check it? Maybe if we're really the Korean drama romantic guy, that David would have checked it. But at that generation, there's no way that he could check it. "Hey, bring my wife back." The Paltiel weeping behind Rachel all the way to Baurim. Would anybody have reported David about this? "Hey, David, here's your wife, Queen Michal, but her husband was so sad, crying, weeping, following her. That's the consequence you have." Would anybody have reported David about that? I don't think so. David just have no idea what was Michal was feeling. What was this Paltiel guy? Maybe he had no idea. To him, they just nobody. He just didn't know, right? And that's so. I'm wondering why Bible included this part in the Bible. I mean, Bible writer. What was his position when he wrote down the Paltiel was crying? Did he intend? Is he inviting Bible author inviting us to take compassion on Paltiel? Or the Bible author suggesting us to blame the David's decision? Or what? I really wonder what was the author doing by adding this thing. And the worst part, or like the most interesting part? About 2 women, Rizpah, Michal. It's about their life. How did they feel? Like again, Rizpah, King Saul's concubine. Her husband died, now there's no protection. But number 2, now number 1, most powerful General Abner come to a lover. If you are Rizpah, you would have been happy. Oh, good. Now I'll be protected with the new husband, most powerful person. Either that Rizpah would have felt. Or she would have felt shame. My husband was a king. How come this general number 2, because of my husband died, come to me and commit have a relationship with me? This is shame. Is that the Rizpah ever felt? Or Michal, when she was called back to the David, Do you think Michal now say, oh, I'm sick of this normal person's life with nobody Paltiel. Now, at last, my queenship will be restored. King David the conqueror now calling back as his wife. I'm so happy to go back to my original husband. Do you think that's what Michal would have felt? Or my life was once broken. I found the true love. I'm so happy to settle down this new life. Please don't bother me. But now this great king again, my former husband, just bring me back to to him and then take me away from my husband, the true love. Is that what Michal would have felt? What do you think? Because it's their life. It's Rizpah's life. It's Michal's life, but we haven't heard about any voice about them. And again, I'm wondering, what is the Bible doing by introducing all this story from their own perspective? That's the beauty of the Bible, right? It's not drama. It's not novel. It's not like again, Korean drama, like one person's perspective with the major, the guy and the major woman. There are two characters that they really like victory, happily, successful life. It's not like that. Bible shows everything from everybody's voice, from every perspective, because it is reality. The Rizpah is not only woman who went through this kinds of life, right? In human history, how many people went through the life or experience like IshBoseth or Paltiel or Michal and David? That's a real human life. And Bible is history. It just report everything as it was. And also what it does is invite you. Are you like David? Are you like IshBoseth? Or are you like a Rizpah? Or are you making somebody like a Rizpah? Right? It's just inviting us in this complicated relationship because we always justify who we are, our behavior. When you are oppressed, we are angry. We scream that I'm the victim in this situation. We raise our voice, but actually by raising that voice, sometimes we victimize even other people. You know that the complicated human relationship, it's in our life. We are oppressor, and we are oppressed, and we are in somewhere in this many layer of a human relationship, and Bible just reporting and as it is. And what is it reporting is, what is it suggesting is, see what God sees. Hey people, this is what God sees. What Bible reporting is what God sees, what God has seen. In everybody in their own position, in their relationship with God, in their relationship with other people, they justify who they are and they think they're okay, but God sees everything, right? Everybody in your life, your parents, your children, your neighbors, and even the people in other country, while we are living such a life. Some people doing such, some people receive benefit from what we do, or some people receive disadvantage from what we do, or our position. God sees everything. So Bible is suggesting you also see what God sees, because this is what Bible reporting everything. Now, I'm going to invite you a little further. If you're like a Bible lover, it'll be really interesting. Again, Michal and Rizpah, we never heard about their emotion, what they felt, but Bible doesn't miss them. Bible doesn't leave them in silence. So the next story come up, we just read chapter 3. Now, chapter 6, there's a totally new scene, new story, new incident. So David now become a king. Now he's gonna bring the ark of the Lord back to his temple, his city, the city of David. So you heard about this famous story when David brought the ark of the Lord. He was dancing crazily, right? Even he became naked. Every sixth step he worshiped the God, gave a sacrifice, dancing crazily. And we hear this woman's name one more time, Michal, the daughter of Saul, watched from the window when David was dancing crazily, being naked. When she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him. She despised him in her heart. When David came back, she said, how the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of the slave girls of his servant as any burglar fellow would. So very, very sarcastic, right? And David now responded. David said, it was before the Lord. It was, so David now responding, it was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people. I will celebrate before the Lord. I will become even more undignified than this. Do you know the Hillsong title, Undignified? It comes from this verse. Like, even if you are undignified, even if you are humiliated, or even if other people think we are wrong people, but we give our true heart, true action to worship God. That's David. The undignified than this, I'll be humiliated in my own eyes, but by these slave girls you spoke of, I'll be held in honor. And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. So by reading this story, what do you feel? Do you feel sorry to Michal? Or do you think, oh, she deserved it? I mean, how dare she criticize the great King David when he gave worship truly to God? She was just sarcastic. She doesn't have any respect. So she deserved that, the miserable life at the end of it. Is that what you fear? Or do you fear, David, you really did have to do that? Or, God, what's going on here? What about Michal's life? Like the young girl, the princess, become the wife of a hero, and was lost and was thrown away, become a new life, and new husband, and taken away from that, and a new husband, like an old husband, like a sarcastic things going on, and then the miserably live her life in the palace with any relationship without any children. And again, I really wonder what is Bible suggesting us to read from this. Where should we feel the empathy? With Michal or with David? Should we criticize David from this story? I really wonder what's the point, right? And actually, worst thing, Rizpah. Rizpah, come up one more time. By the way, do you remember who Rizpah is? You already forgot her? Rizpah was Saul's concubine, right? The Abner went in her. But now, totally later, chapter 21. Now, everything's over. The Absalom incident over. Everything's over now. End of the book, 2 Samuel chapter 21. We hear the name of Rizpah one more time. So something happened. 2 Samuel chapter 21, during the reign of David, there was a famine for 3 successive years. David sought the face of the Lord. The Lord said, it is on account of Saul and his brothers stay in the house. It is because he put the Gibeonite to death. Do you know who the Gibeonite is? So again, to understand this story, you need to read all the Bible. Joshua, book of Joshua, long time ago, when Israelite conquered the Canaan, there were people Gibeonite. There were many people like a Canaanite, Perizzite, Hebusite, Jebusite, Gibeonite. But Gibeonite, one of the tribes in Canaan, and they discussed. They pretended they are the people who live far away. They came to Joshua pretending we're not living around here. We are the people far away, and please make a peace contract with us. So Joshua and the leaders of Israel, okay, if you are the people who live far away, we're not going to make a war against you. You will be in peace. They make the oath before the Lord. But later, they found their people living right beside of them. But because of their vow before God, they could not kill them. That's a history. So Gibeonite was living with the Israelite because they made a deception. But because the Israelite leader, including Joshua, made a vow before God, we're not going to kill them, so they were not killing them. But King Saul, King Saul, the most important thing for Saul is popularity. He wanted more popularity from people. So because of people did not like the Gibeonite, he killed them. There was genocide. Thousands of people, the King Saul killed them, breaking the oath their ancestor Joshua made to God. They're not going to kill them. So God had to respond. God had to respond this innocent blood, people who were slaughtered by the evil king who broke the promise. So there was a famine. God responded to them. So now David, it was not the mistake he committed, but now he's a new king, but he had to clean up the mess of the former king, what Saul did. So he had to do something. So David come to the Gibeonite, says, what should I do for you? Okay, I know the King Saul did a horrible thing, so we are the people, the Israelite, King Saul's in the tribe of me, we're all in trouble, God is angry with us, what should I do for you? So they suggested, it's not about money, it's not about, anything you can do it, give us 7 descendants of the person who killed us. Saul's 7 descendants, give that person so we can kill them, so we're just cleaning up. I think this is really generous suggestion. I mean, it's as many as the people you killed, thousands of our life. Israel, you should respond with 1,000 of your life. Maybe they couldn't do it, right? But like thousands of our people, our wife and husband, all the people and children, they were killed by your king. Just bring the 7 children of that king. We'll clean this up. I think very generous, good offer. So David had to do it, but David had a dilemma. What was David's dilemma? King Saul's descendant means the prince Jonathan's descendant, but you know that Jonathan and David had a really good relationship, and David tried to protect Jonathan and Jonathan's descendant. So David, again, he had to solve this problem that he did not cause, and he was doing his best to find the right solution, minimize the negative impact. So he decided to give 7 descendants of Saul, but he saved Jonathan's children. So what? He had to give Rizpah's children. Now that we hear name Rizpah one more time, so King Saul, the verse 7, King David spared the Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, son of Saul, because the oath that before the Lord between David and Jonathan, son of Saul. But the king David took Harmony and then Mephibosheth, a different Mephibosheth, the 2 sons of Aiah's daughter Rizpah, whom she has born to Saul. So at last we hear again from Rizpah, the Saul's concubine, her 2 sons, with the actually King Saul's daughter Merab's 5 sons. They were taken, and Gibeonite, they had to revenge the Gibeonite. They killed 2 of them on the hill, and 7 of them, Saul's 7 children, fell together. They were put to death during the first day of the harvest, just as the barley harvest was beginning. So barley harvest means April. About April, the 7 children of Saul were killed on the cost of thousands of Gibeonites' life. So kinds of fair deal. But anyway, those 7 people were husband of some woman, or the father of some children, or the sons of some woman, and in that case, it was Rizpah. So the story go on. Rizpah, daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it out for herself on a rock from the beginning of the harvest till the rain poured down from the heavens on the bodies. She did not let the bird of the air touch them by day and the wild animal by night. So simply the dead body of her children, that she had to protect. She wanted to protect them even if they're dead. That's the body. When is the first rain of the Israel? October. So from April to October, 6 months, she guarded the body of her 2 sons. Couldn't she stop it? I mean, it was a mess of her husband. Her husband killed thousands of people. So now those victims claim revenge to her sons. I mean, there's not many things she could do it. And she didn't have a power, right? So she had to let her 2 sons die. But mother's sadness, she's kept this body intact. Even if 6 months, they all decayed, only bones left, but she was still with them. And you can understand the mother's sadness. I think it inspired a lot of artists. The color printing, James Tissot, and the second one, there's Gustav Daub. And the third one, there's the George Baker. That a lot of the artists, they try to describe the Mitzpah's miserable life, that she tried to the poor body, the 6 months, the fighting against the bird and then animal, keep her son's body safe. And there's books and movies and things like that. So these are stories you heard about that. Now that these 6 people it come up more the clear character to you, who they are. We only remember David, we only remember like Michal, but now there were man Abner, and there were man IshBoseth, and Paltiel, even Rizpah. And if you read it through, later you will see Joab. It's another mess. Joab now killed Abner, and then this family, this people's life is really tangled so much. Who started first? Who the Abner killed Joab's the brother Abishai, and Abner Joab killed Abner later, and David was angry for Joab. These are things go on and on and on. That's human history, and it has been always like that. You know that, right? How many people's life were taken without any notice, without any attention? And how many people lived with that grudge and bitterness and nobody knew it, right? And how many times, it's our life. Somebody around us, maybe one of them. We are one of them. And Bible is just showing it as it is. Because God sees everybody's situation in their own perspective. So 2 big questions we can bring up here. So what shall we do? What is the Bible suggesting us by introducing all these stories, the minor, insignificant story from different perspectives? Does the Bible really want us to be careful or be like David? or take compassion more Rizpah, or remember them, or remember how they felt? I mean, all these things. What is Bible trying to telling us, and how should we read the Bible? That's a big question, right? And the bigger question, what is God doing here? Couldn't God protect Rizpah from losing her two sons? If God says, hey, silent, everybody, leave her alone. She already lost her husband. Leave her alone, two sons intact. Then thousands of Gibeonites will say, what about our life? What about our children? Her husband, their father, killed us. God, you're God of justice. Right? I mean, everybody raising their voice to God. God, why you not clean up these things? Why all the bad things going on? Why you leave me alone like this way, right? Isn't that also what we do? All the bad things going on in our life, we always bring up, God, why this thing happened? Why my life will go this way? Why those people do this thing to me? God, what are you doing? What is God doing? God sees everything from every different voice, this tangled human history from your ancestors, from your own relationship with everybody in the world. Those are tangled mess. God is dealing with them. And what is God really doing? You know that. What is Bible says what God does? He decided to give his son. That's what Bible says. Hey, we claim your son. Bring your son back for all this mess. Somebody claimed to Rizpah. And God now, why are you not protecting? And God really couldn't be anybody's side. So our God decided, I'm going to give him my son. Somebody have to be responsible for this situation. Nobody step up. Nobody come to say, it is my responsibility. Nobody says, oh, that we'll just grudge this, hold this grudge. It's okay. You don't have to pay back anything to me. Nobody says that. So though God did not kill anybody, though God was not involved in any of this problem, God said, I'm going to pay for that. If you're not going to pay to each other, if you just claim each other revenge, and if you just claim all these things, okay, bring to me. Bring all these things to me. I'll pay for them. I will give my son. You know that this brilliant painting that James Tissot, do you see that? They are crucified. I feel weird. They were all not crucified. There was no crucifixion at the time. They were just hanged by the tree. But this James Tissot, the Christian artist, he imagined this death of the Rizpah's son like an image of Jesus. They were crucified. That's our God. That it's not just love. God says, I will take over all these things, all this mess. You caused it. You cannot bring the solution. You cannot solve the problem. You cannot be responsible. You cannot pay for your sin. I will do it. I will do it. I will give my life. I will die in your place. I will give my son. That is God's love we talk about. That is what we believe. That is why we say there's no other Savior, no other solution in our life for this world other than Jesus, the incarnation of God who gave his life for our sin, so we are saved. Let's pray.